deal, but gets the 1-on-2 clutch and a more dramatic way to finish you could hardly imagine. I mean, that's always a nice way to seal the deal, but that's an upset there, of course. This was Winterfox's map choice. We did speak beforehand about the fact that these two teams had played each other only last week, I think on December 18th in I think it was the Global Esports Cup. And Winterfox had come out victorious. They're 2-0 in that BO3. So they were really coming in with their tails up into this match. And Splyce have caught them off guard. They were playing with a stand-in. And whilst they got out to a good lead at the very beginning, really, I was really more impressed by the fact that they ground out those round wins at the end. They were down 14-11. They came back to win 16-14.
Yeah, and they put together a fantastic CT side. And as I alluded to earlier, I mean, it didn't look like my pick was going to, I guess, my line of thought was going to come to fruition, but certainly Summit, the stand-in, is not only putting in great work, but they appear to be playing good CS. Like, the communication seems to be good. The rounds they're winning seem to be good. And he doesn't appear to be holding them back, given last time these two teams met, they lost 2-0 in terms of the Splyce guys. But, hey, Summit bringing the pain today.
I just want to point out, though, it's interesting for me when we looked at the maps that they played last time, because they were actually two different maps to what we're seeing today. Of course, we've just seen Cobblestone, and the next map will be Mirage. Mirage, which was the choice of Splyce. If we look, if my computer serves me correctly, if we look at the last time they played each other, I believe it was Dust 2, and my computer's just died on me, so I can't confirm the second map. But they were actually different maps. It might have been Dust 2 and Inferno. So whilst they do have that track record,
Dust 2 and Cache, Nick. Dust 2 and Cache.
Okay,
yes.
So whilst they had that track record of playing against each other, it was under different circumstances, is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, and I guess all credit to Splyce for trying to change up their maps, showing that they do have a little bit of depth in their map pool, because obviously you're not going to, in a best of two situation with the way the vetoes work, you're never going to end up on maps you're horrible on with any sort of certainty, because you can veto out your horrible maps. So by losing those two games last week against this exact roster and showing that they can, you know what, we're willing to play Cobble, we're willing to play one of the newer maps that maybe we can catch Winterfox off guard on, and they've certainly been able to do that. So you have to take your hats off to Splyce, but one could only sort of think that with a 14-11 lead on T-side of Cobble, that was Winterfox's game to lose.
Now, the horrible aspect as well, if you're a Winterfox fan or even a supporter or whatnot, is the fact, with the nature of this competition, the format, of course, we are talking about a 16 round-robin group stage. All matches will be played in BO2, but there's a premium placed on winning your series 2-0. You get 3 points for winning, only 1 point for tying. So there is that premium for 2-0, and you can't afford to drop maps. That's what we saw in the Australian scene, that you can't afford to have an off night at all. Every single map counts. Of course, every team vying for that first place, which will really secure themselves a trip to Croatia, split in Croatia in March next year to compete in the World Finals against the likes of, I think, Virtus Pro have been invited, Navi have been invited, I think also Envious, and of course the Australian team, which has already qualified in the form of Immunity. So against the world's, or at least some of the world's best teams, there's so much to play for, and you can't have an off night. Now, Winterfox are going to find a way to, I guess, mentally reset themselves. They'll be coming to this match knowing that, look, we've just almost not thrown away, but we were in a strong position to close out the previous match and we couldn't do it. We now need to almost start afresh. What would you be saying to your teammates at this point, Pete? Of course, you are a player or ex-player from Team Chiefs. I think they were ranked number 2 in Australia. You've been in these high-pressure games on land and online before. What would be the message amongst Winterfox at the moment, who have just lost the first map?
Well, we were talking earlier on Cobble about when Winterfox went on that really good run, about how they had that little bit more experience, and how Peter was really the only one on the T side with that sort of experience. And he did a great job of leading from the front and leading by example in this situation and dragging his guys into a win. But that experience that can give you an advantage in these games can also, sort of cause a distraction, because when you lose a game you think you should be able to win, and you know there's a lot on the line, like an international tournament, the weight of expectation can actually play against you, even though you still should be confident you can win the game. Winterfox were expecting a 2-0 here. I can almost assure, after the last week's result, you'd come into tonight or today's games, they would have said, yeah, I think this will be a 2-0 for us. And when you go down 1-1, it will really test the result. When you go down 1-0, sorry, to really test the resolve of the Winterfox players. Because even though in their minds they wanted a 2-0, even getting out of here with a 1-1 can be extremely beneficial to their run in this season, as opposed to going down 2-0 and not securing any sort of points from this game.
Something I might point out, something that's a little bit different given the structure of the American, I guess, phase of CounterPit compared to what we saw in Australia, because in Australia, all the matches were quite compressed. We saw them all played. There's actually 15 BO2s if you count them out. 15 BO2s were played in probably about a week and a half, nearing 2 weeks. With the American League, though, obviously with Christmas and the New Year's in the middle, they've actually almost been segregated into 2 sections. We'll have 1 week before Christmas and then a week in the New Year's. So it means some teams, as an example, Renegades, the Australian team who spend a lot of their time at the moment over in Las Vegas, who are actually in Australia at the moment, won't play until next year. Now, it just gives teams that opportunity. And what I find interesting is we'll see that some teams, like Renegades, will almost stack their games in one big block, whereas other teams like Winterfox will see them playing over a 3 to 4 week period in its entirety. So I think that almost it's trying to give teams that opportunity, such as Winterfox and such as Splyce, who have that extra time off in between games to really recover from their mistakes and try and fine-tune smaller aspects of their game as they head into perhaps the business end of the season, as opposed to perhaps the Renegades who might have 5 BO2s in 2 days and not much time off in between.
Yeah.
And I think we might be rejoined by one of our co-casters here, Jim Nesso. Welcome back to the table.
It's good to be back. Now, of course, it's midday here in Australia, so of course I had to juggle work commitments, funnily enough.
We got the SOS call
and
at the
cast.
last second. so Jim was actually working at the time in which we got the call up to cast, so we do apologise that one of our core members of the casting trio here from Australia was missing, but it's nice to have you back on board there, buddy.
It's nice to be back on board. Of course, we get the knife round. And, geez, it's on for young and old here.
Not as interesting as Australian knife rounds, Jim.
Definitely not. If any of you have seen the Trident knife rounds, will be well versed in elaborate and creative knife strategy. Usually just involving killing oneself, but I'll let you gents continue where you left off nonetheless.
Yeah, there's an art to it though, Jim. You make it out as though it's not dramatic. It's quite a scene to behold. So certainly recommend, if you haven't already seen so, to have a look on CSGO Reddit. It can be quite funny. But we will see these teams play Mirage. Now, what are we expecting from these teams? Certainly, normally, the mid control is one of the biggest talking points in this map, and the team, whether it be a terror side or the counter-terror side, that can lock it down most effectively. I mean, there's lots of choke points from a CT perspective to really, I guess, gain access to mid, whereas the terrorists don't have quite that opportunity available to them. But normally it's where you see those key AWPers, such as your Peters, really come into their own groove and making a name for themselves in really controlling that area of the map and really gaining your team and giving your team so many opportunities when it comes to rotation.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, I think not all of the credit should go to Peter, but that victory on Cobble certainly had a lot to do with the fact that Peter dropped over 30 kills and really controlled the tempo of the game with his AWP on both sides. So I think the game plan for Splyce should be oddly similar here, where Winterfox should, in theory, be the favourite to win this game, but Peter can certainly throw a pretty huge spanner in the works by putting his AWP to great use on both sides of the map. Mirage certainly one of those maps which is very open. It gives the AWPers a lot of opportunity and a lot of easy rotations through the back half of the map, e.g. CT spawn and that back area where you can rotate that AWP pretty freely between bomb sites without a huge amount of risk getting picked off by a terrorist, because unless you've lost control of mid and they're in the window room area, you can pretty much guarantee there's no one that's going to be there. So Peter could have a huge impact on this game with his AWP. I love the fact that they've started on CT to give him a chance to get going, and the pistol round will be huge for them as well.
That's right, we can see the terror side here. They have opted to actually invest in quite a few utility grenades. You can see Anger, XP3 and Flowsick all boasting some sort of grenades. Actually, even Lex as well. I didn't catch that smoke grenade up in his hand, so definitely have some sort of set execute in mind. But oh my word, what are we seeing here in mid with 3 members of Splyce? We've seen them do some quirky CT pistols. They charged mid on Cobble. Now they're actually stacking 3 members in window, but I think very, very quickly they'll get the word that B site is on the cards. You can see Flowstick just checking underpass, making sure no one's pushed, and that they had, as Ruri does get caught off guard there, but certainly you would have thought the main attack was coming in the way of B. Flowstick does have the bomb though, and we'll actually, I think, go back to that frag. They might reconsider their options this round because they were planning on a B execute with all those utility grenades, but you can see them falling off. But Peter, we talked him up, and yet again, it's his turn to shine. He does drop 2 frags, and as Akis does drop 1 there in the vent room, all of a sudden it's going Splyce's way from really a man disadvantage. They were in a 4-on-5 only seemingly moments ago, and some fantastic work with the USPs and the P2Ks has really turned that round around, and that's horrible wordplay in that sense. But Winterfox, I think, doubting themselves and going away from that plan they had in mind. They certainly had all those smokes and flashes for B, but they turned away from it.
Yeah, Lex catching Summit with his pants down in A site. Wasn't able to convert the frag either, so unfortunately That was another key telling in that round. But yeah, they were pretty much booked per se, as now they're going to go into this round with just some pistols and utility. That's scared of Peter, doing some work in the window there, joined by teammate Akis, just cleaning things up at the top of mid. Only Anger there remains, and now it's all to do for Desi. 8 HP. Unfortunately, he's just got to try and do some damage with this as he just hires it out in that T-spawn area. Just waiting for the CTs to get a little bit aggressive and try to push him. It's all to do for him here, though. The more guns and more damage he can take off Splyce, the better it will be. But unfortunately, that's not to be in this instance.
Yeah, and there will be another eco coming out here for Winterfox, so maybe just a Tech 9 or a P250 or so. No real investment in armor or any sort of significant resource. XP3 picking up 1 smoke and Flowstick with 1 flash, so something pretty quick on towards A, it looks like here for Winterfox. But for those of you who just harping back onto that pistol for just a second, which I won't do because Winterfox have launched up this ramp, Summit taking out Lex, but Desi with the reply onto Summit, picking up a kill there, getting his Famis down, but not being able to pick it up. Peter and Akis getting the job done there. They will all spot the last terrorist, and Peter will once again race off to a 6 kill, 3 assist, and 2-star start. So exactly what we wanted to see from Peter coming out and winning the pistol round, jumping out the window, getting those 2 miraculous kills on the guys running out of unders. So first gun round here, Peter will pick up the AWP, and all eyes should be on him for not only the first sort of 10 to 20 seconds with this pick, but pretty much the whole round, as he should do what he wants with the round here with the AWP.
Well, look at the aggression coming out from the CTs again. It's a common theme, isn't it? But they haven't actually done much with it. 4 members there in mid, but they're almost standing there doing nothing. And as Flowstick strolls up from the underpass, he's wondering what all the fuss is about. He does drop 1, but there are almost 2 others there in the smoke to get if you had known that. But not to be a Splyce, seemingly just get self-implode there in mid and don't do anything with that position that they did have. Peter does get a nice shot there through the wall, actually, and a headshot, but really in a 4-on-2 situation, it's going to be so difficult to recover this. They have dropped the bomb, though, so XP3 is down, but still, man advantage in favour of Winterfox at the moment. In a 3-on-2, they do know the position of both CTs as well, so if they perhaps to have a smoke grenade or even a few flashes, they should be able to recover this bomb without too much harm. You can see Flowstick quickly strafing once he picked out that bomb to get back to safety, but taking his life into his hands there as he jumped across very boldly into the A site, but it will get planted now. T's with great after plant position, so you'd have to imagine that Splyce would save those guns, but I just want to point out, again, Splyce, I think they had 3 members going window, 1 pushing through mid-con from A as well, so they had 4 at the base of mid, but they didn't do anything. They didn't push mid, they didn't push underpass, they seemingly just stood there and got collapsed upon.
Yeah, I think more than the lack of structure for Splyce on that last round where they tried to push mid with many guns was the quality of the counter flashes that actually came from the Winterfox guys. They threw a nice early one and then 2 flashes jammed into the ramp. And of course the Splyce players coming out of the smoke didn't have an opportunity to turn from the flashes, and it ended up being a pretty big pickle for them as Winterfox just took advantage of the fact that they had a lot of blind targets to shoot at, and they'll take out the round and very quickly look to execute onto this A bomb site. Smokes and flashes will rain over in the normal fashion. Summit here with a huge role to play trying to defend this bomb site, and XP3 spotting 1 out, does actually spam Peter through the smoke, so a big kill for him there onto Peter, and it's going to be Summit trying his best to defend this by himself. Does pick up 1 and keep that pretty hidden position all to himself, and does a great job of staying alive, but Flowstick will find his head, and this round that was so easily looking as though Splyce were going to do something good with it. Slemmy's actually TK'd one of his teammates and now put himself on 12. Flowstick able to find Slemmy as well. So once again, we see just an absolute minefield when these bomb site hits end up going down in these rushes. It's all about trading, finding the right kill at the right time, and just so many kills coming out from different positions. It's just an all-out slaughter zone on these bomb sites.
Yes, a small little fact that I want to point out as we do see Splyce here on eco round was with those smoke grenades that Winterfox actually threw into the A site. Commonly you see the smokes thrown quite deeply to the choke points such as jungle and such as CT to really, I just block them off from a distance and allow the T's to enter the site. But the T's in that instance, Winterfox threw their smokes really shallow and almost landing in the middle of the site. So it almost created a wall there between the T's and I guess the CTs that were holding within the bomb site. And I thought it was going to work to their disadvantage in the sense that it allowed the CTs to reposition themselves really well. But in the end, great trading, won the round there for Team Winterfox. But I was just a little bit surprised and curious by the smoke positioning.
Yeah, and I mean, you hear so many people, I guess, on casting desks and see people who break down CS at sort of an analytical level. They always talk about the current game meta, and I guess very few players really extend the meta past, like, you know, what are the guns doing, and, you know, smokes and flashes and this sort of stuff, and what tactics are popular when. But a big part of the meta is actually taking things that already work and making slight adjustments to them to create something brand new. Like that Winterfox strategy there, I'm sure many teams have done it in the past, but the fact that they're thinking about throwing those smokes slightly shallower to try and catch teams off guard in a very, very slight way, you can see that the game's developing to the point where, like in 1.6, to harp back on an older version, is, I guess, a lot of people would consider more strategical than CSGO in a large sense, as the Ts will execute their way onto B here and get all the way into the bomb site. And Lex and Desi will do the work early. Peter trying to find a kill late into this bomb site. He will find one, and this is going to be on Peter to do something absolutely magical to try and save this round for Splyce as XP3 finds Slemmy. And Peter's stuck all by himself. He picks up a second. So this is highlight time for Peter if he can make it happen here. He doesn't try anything too wishful. Tries to get pretty standard kills. Doesn't work out for him in the end. A good double, but committed to the AWP into the bomb site. Didn't really work out. Got smoked off, and Winterfox pulling away another great round there.
It's the exact same thing, isn't it, though? I'm so glad we talked up and gave a lot of insight, or at least thought, to the positioning of the ace smokes, because you can see the exact same philosophies applying there, where they've clearly thought out their attacks and have practiced a great deal as a team there, because you could see those smokes so well placed in the B site, blocking off that rotation there as some of the Splyce members were coming to support their teammates at B. They were really restricted in their vision, so Mirage is really the sort of map with all the angles and really the open nature of the map, especially above the ceiling, above the roofs of some of the, I guess, walls. It can allow teams to throw those well-positioned smokes that they do put in the practice time. But Splyce on Anitra here actually doing a fantastic job of picking up the frags when perhaps you wouldn't normally expect them to. They now find themselves in a 4-on-2 situation. And Jim, you can see that Winterfox, they're very scared at the moment.
Yeah, it was a strange start to that round because Winterfox took control of mid early on very aggressively, but nonetheless, Splyce actually replied, should I say, with some aggression of their own, opting to push that smoke and short and catching Winterfox off guard there, and a great pistol buy coming in from Splyce, just countering that aggression early on quite well and coming up trumps, would you say?
I love the grind here at the moment from Winterfox, and I know we've been putting so much attention on Splyce and Peter, and I mean, because they're not expected to win, obviously a pretty big underdog in this game, we've been concentrating more on Splyce. But the fact that Peter is 10-3-3 at the moment, the fact that Akis is on 10 and 6, you've got two players really putting the heat on Winterfox, yet they've still managed to grind out 4 rounds, and it's currently 4-all. They haven't allowed these two players, even though they've got hot, to completely dictate the momentum of the game, and you can see that Winterfox are forcing their hand once again, making their way into the A bomb site. Peter and Summer do pick up one apiece, but Desi trades on them both. And now Splyce is going to have to do a lot of work to try and pull this round back. Rue does get the first one. He's been playing at a decent level this game, picking up a few kills, but this will be too much for him. There will be too much heat in the kitchen caused by these Molotovs. He'll force his way back, and I think just try and save this rifle. Although the pop flash comes in, he's actually going to go for this, which is a strange decision given his health and the situation he was in. He takes a pretty big risk there and loses his gun, which, you know, at the end of the day, probably, I mean, it wasn't advisable. It was a 2 versus 1, so you can never say that
Nah,
he
Pete.
had no shot.
And I'll take it a step further. That was a horrible decision. Look at the money that they had on their players. Peter, Ruru, and Slemmy all had, I think, above $5,500. So they could have all dropped guns, but 2 members were poor. They desperately needed that rifle save. That was a horrible decision there by Ruru. He needed to back off. He certainly had the opportunity to, because the T's, I think, in a 2-on-1 were quite content there to just lock down the bomb site. He needed to be retreating towards B and saving that gun for his teammates. As it is, you can see Summit forced a pistol. Maybe I should hold that thought because he's putting it to good use, as is Akis, the other pistol player, actually. So forget everything I've said. I'm glad he died that round. It's worked out better for him.
Just mind-blowing. I have no idea what the T just running out of the smoke on T-Ram by himself was doing then. I don't know which player that was exactly. He died too quick. But just a bizarre series of decisions by Winterfox in a game where, you know, we would credit them for having more experience and I guess a total higher in-game IQ, but they're certainly not displaying it at the moment at all in this game.
As Flowsick knifes Slemmy. Well, he'll be getting the financial bonus and certainly, I think, the motivational bonus that comes with getting a knife frag. But yeah, quite strange to see. I mean, they were just seemingly rushing into A. I know Summit caught 1 member off guard in A Palace very early on. Summit being the aggressor in that instance, so I could sort of understand that. But like you said, that 1 member of Winterfox who charged up the T-ramp, I'm not sure if he was trying to perhaps trade his teammate, knowing that perhaps Summit had fallen back, but in the end, he just ran into the crosshair of Akis, and really that force buy that shouldn't have been for Splyce, had they saved that gun in the previous round, ended up working for them because Winterfox seemingly didn't show much resolve for their lives.
Yeah, and now we see Winterfox just grouping up in those B holes here. Slemmy's poised, ready to go, though. He does take 1, looking for that second. Unfortunately, traded out before he could do more damage than he wanted to, but Akis just catches Lex all too easily, pushing through that smoke. And now they do have control of this B bomb site, so they did get that plant against all odds. And now they are attempting to defend. Desi is going to go on point here. He does catch out Peter with that Tech 9. And Flowsick stepping on Summit as well. And now just Ruru with it all to do. He does push through to the door and takes 2 for the measure. Gets the 3rd as well. So Ruru to the rescue. Picking up that round. And geez, hire him for janitor duty because he is cleaning up.
Fantastic shots, but I just want to point out how close that Molotov could have been. As you could see, that defuse did come in the end, but only because the Molotov narrowly missed exploding on top of the bomb. That would have bought them an extra, perhaps, handful of seconds that could have been the deal breaker in the end, but the defuse will come in. That costly grenade miss, as it might prove to be, proving to be Winterfox's downfall. Splyce now taking the lead. 6-5 strings here, 2 rounds in a row, Pete. Starting to turn that momentum, which we saw them do on the back of that Cobblestone match quite well.
Yeah, and even though that the grenade missed and it may have bought them a few extra seconds, there was a terrorist who was in B halls then who ran out because there was no one on the bomb. The bomb was planted, so he's run out and he still lost his life. But this round, once again, within 10 or 15 seconds of the round starting, we already see 2 members of Winterfox going down to frags from Splyce. So Peter's still putting in that work, 13-5, but this map he's joined by Akis, who's on 14 for 8, doing fantastic work and making Winterfox work for every round they've got. As I said, even though Splyce are playing so well and we're talking them up a lot, the grind by Winterfox is still there. They've got 5 T rounds on Mirage and they look like any round that they could win, just like they look like any round that they could lose. So extremely hard to really put this game down to what's going to happen and which direction even individual rounds will take as Desi gets taken down by Peter and Lex tries his best to clutch 3 versus 1. Doesn't happen. Slemmy will take him down. And this is Splyce's real opportunity here to grab this game by the haunches and hump it into submission because Winterfox's money is broken. They've got an eco here and Splyce have an opportunity to cash in and really buffer their economy moving forward. I
agree with you. The only thing I'd say is the track record that we've seen tonight has been that a team really hasn't been able to put down that, I guess, their foot on the throat in that regard and really stop them when they've had that opportunity. But Peter doing a great job at the moment, trying to make amends in that regard, does get 2 great frags in the window room and scaring Winterfox away from mid. They will funnel their way into B and somehow Ruru, I think, might have been temporarily blind because Anger actually got past him to the van, but his position was eventually found out, and I think the remaining members of Splyce soon realised that all of Winterfox were there. They soon fall where they once stood.
Yeah, and Ruru making a late run for hide-and-go-seek champion of the year. I mean, there's a couple times now he's just managed to somehow sit in positions unaware to Winterfox and get away with things you wouldn't normally be able to get away with, should I say. As now we do see a buy come in from Winterfox here up against Splyce, and they are opting for that early mid control as we see XP3 make his way out to the barrels at the top of mid, and Peter is aware that he is there, but he's just going to call in that support from short. So aggression here from Splyce early on, pushing through that smoke. Slemmy actually picks up a frag there, and Peter is contributing as well. That counter aggression from Splyce is just working so well as Akis picks up the remaining frag, and they are just almost laying the trap for Winterfox to come into mid and almost retake it from them.
Can I just point out, Pete, before you jump in, I just want to say that was one of the best instances or examples that I've seen of a team going counter-aggressive in mid and really locking it down. The smoke placement and the flashes there. They swarmed in mid with 4 people. There were 2 at short, 1 in window and 1 at midcon. That was so cohesive and so well coordinated. I love that from Splyce. I'm really impressed. I haven't seen too many teams do it better than that.
Yeah, Peter, without question, just picks up a free kill on Flowstick through the smoke without even actually having seen him. So a great piece of anticipation there as Winterfox will try and make their way into A, and Ruru just horribly out of position there, not sure what he was doing, but Akis will get a great position on the edge of the smoke and pick up a triple. Great positioning there from Akis as he does all the work required to win his team the round, and they will win the half 10-5. A fantastic result for Splyce. And just to touch on the round before this one, that was a great example of how to make adjustments in CS. The first time Splyce tried to do that mid push, they got dominated by the counter flashes of Winterfox by staying back in mid and trying to pick them off. That time when they were doing their mid aggression, they said, we know they're going to counter flash through the smoke, so let's charge through the smoke itself and get better position. Worked out perfectly for them. Great round, and now Splyce look to take a very aggressive approach towards this B bomb site on T-Pistol.
See, they are not messing about, and Summit, the stand-in is on point. Actually does get a bink onto Anger as well, so he's immediately under pressure, and now he is just going to be swarmed at that van as they do take control of this B bomb site. That bomb will come down quite easily, and Ruru is just pushing his way into the shop there. Does pick up another frag before XP3 has his say on the round in B-halls, and this flank is going to come in quite quickly here. Summit, the man at the van, has to try and defend this from the incoming CTs. He doesn't manage to do so. Now they do pick up the frags with Flowstick just flanking around the bomb box there. We'll try and find a second onto Peter here, but Peter is just doing the dance quite well. Picking up one for good measure, and now XP3, they are out of ammo, and Peter just picking up that frag with the knife.
This is a second round AWP. This is a second round AWP. He's going to do it though, because he's got over $5,000 with all those pistol kills and the knife kill. So is he going to do it? No.
He hasn't done it, mate. Sorry.
Risk
to
v
spoil it.
reward.
I was so excited for the second round AWP, where it's just so arrogant. 5-out AWP second round. It is like the most arrogant thing you could do in CS, getting that knife kill and pistol, and then buying the AWP just to shame your enemies into knowing there's only one possible way to get an AWP on the second round. It is to get multiple kills.
I think he's thinking long term though. I'm thinking he's got the Mac 10 now. If he could get perhaps 4 or 5 submachine gun frags, he might be able to drop a second AWP for his team. He could go the double AWP on third round, Pete. He's thinking bigger.
Well, I am glad that he's thinking bigger than me, because he's a professional gamer. So the fact that he's thinking more than one round in advance is very good for me. So he's gone for the team option, and you can see he's managed to get himself I think he got 1 kill that round. So he's all the way up to 6,850, including armor that he already has. So an absolute cash bonanza here for Peter, and this should essentially give him an AWP for potentially 3 straight rounds, depending on how many kills he gets with this Mac 10. All eyes should be on Peter to try and see how many kills he gets, because as I said, he could afford 3 straight AWPs at this point almost.
But the eyes for the moment will be on Summit as he does charge up T-Ramp with that P90 and continue his reign of terror on through stairs. Now, Winterfox do have 2 members waiting in short, so he's just going to be forced to back off, and that bomb has come down, so the time is ticking now. Winterfox will be looking to do a lot of damage and just try and pick the T's as they exit the site. Lex just swindling in jungle there, allowing his teammate to play the bait, and now Peter, he realises the value in this Mac 10, does pick up 1 frag, and not aware of the position, but does pick up Lex anyway for good measure, so that cash is just flowing in for him, and the jumping Mac 10s coming in thick and fast. So healthy kitties for Splyce.
Well, we
This
spoke on Cobblestone about, I guess, Winterfox's resilience and their ability to turn around, particularly in that first half. They were down 9-3, and their resilience to really put that momentum that Splyce had aside and really claw out and grind out those round wins. Well, they're really going to be put to the test now because they need to do the same thing times 10 in the context of this match. They're down 13-5. You can see Lex here with the auto sniper, or Dak Dak as we refer to it in Australia, but the majority of the attack will be coming towards the B side, so he won't be much use just yet for his team. But Ruru does get the drop, and as Ak is there, all of a sudden, all the frags are going the way of Splyce. They've opened up this big bomb site. They find themselves in a 4-on-2, but as XP3 gets bowled over, it's all up to Lex. We spoke about that auto sniper. Well, he's going to have to do some magical things with it, but at the moment, all he thought to do was save it. But even that he could not do. He goes down 14-5. The aggression from Splyce was tangible.
And they opted to keep their SMGs. That was the key point for me. They would just hit that site so quickly with SMGs, not rifles.
I think one of the reasons I've heard, I'll cut to you in a second, Pete, but one of the reasons you do see teams do that is that CTs quite often on the opening gun round will just buy a rifle and just body armor, banking on the fact that Terrace will buy the AK, which one shot to the head will kill them anyway. So I guess the new meta that you see teams such as Envious doing these days is keeping their SMGs on that first gun round, knowing that if they can get a shot to the head, they can likely kill their opponent, which we saw in that instance. But as it starts, Pete, we find ourselves in a 4-on-4 here with an A attack coming in.
Yeah, and Peter getting another headshot through a wall, so just an amazing start to the round for him. Flowstick managed to pick up a kill with a 5-7 and get himself a rifle. And this is a great flank from Lex, but he's unfortunately unable to connect. That could have been huge. Now Anger with that R8 revolver, the new and painfully horrible addition to Counter-Strike Go that they've implemented. Admittedly, they tried to undo some of the damage, but no damage is going to be done by Anger. And 15-5 match point, and I mean, look, the term hard carry is thrown around a lot these days, but I can honestly say that this has been one of the hardest carries by Peter I've seen in a long time in a best of two. In saying that though, Lex has managed to find himself an auto sniper. Desi and XP3 both have orbs. This is an insanely valuable round for Winterfox. Even if they win, if they lose too many guns, they're going to be in a hole, but it doesn't matter because Desi and XP3 and Lex have all gone to town on the Splyce. Guys, where has this been for so long? Just some actual shot making from Winterfox is a fresh change, but you know, 9 rounds to go until they can even save this game.
That is a healthy sum of work for any team to do by any measure, so Winterfox will be put to the test here, and Splyce just holding strong for the moment. They are going to opt for an A execute here, and we've seen them do this before with a little bit of success, so let's just see if they can manage it once again.
Pretty good counter to having 3 or 4 snipers on the CT team is that A smoke strat where all the smokes and flashes will rain over the roof just like they are now. Summit finding himself in a great position on balcony. Will he make himself known? He's actually tried to shoot at a teammate. I think he's completely flashed. No, he's not. He's firing at Lex there through a smoke. And he doesn't pick up anything, but it doesn't really matter what Summit's doing right now because the entire Splyce team has just overtaken A. And as quickly as this game started, with all the expectations, all 10 players have already left the server. I think in a bit of disgust there for the Winterfox guys before the last frag had even gone down, they were done ski. And what an upset for Splyce, and what a best of 2 for the man they call Peter.
Well, that's right. I mean, this is opening night. I think, like you were saying, heading into the match, most people probably would have banked on Winterfox taking the win, but probably the biggest factor for me and the takeaway point, if I'm to look at Splyce's game across the 2 maps, was their ability and willingness, especially on the T side, but even on CT side, to change up the pace of the game and change up their style. I think Pete and Jim pointed out numerous times throughout the cast those small adjustments that they were making, whether it was on their counter aggression on Mirage, taking control of it as CTs, or whether it was opting to go to a set A execute on Mirage, knowing that there were sniper rifles and trying to block off the vision, making those intuitive reads and keeping really Winterfox on the back foot, constantly having to take into account this different tempo and different game style that Splyce were producing. And you could see in the end, obviously Peter, hard carry throughout the match, performed brilliantly on Cobblestone and then backed it up heavily on Mirage as well. But Akius, the other members there as well, Slemmy, I think they're all stepping up when needed be, and in the end walk away comfortably with a 2-0 victory, and on opening night take that first step forward towards that trip to Croatia, Jim.
That's it, and it is quite a prize for any team to go overseas, and as we said, the CounterPit season does carry such an illustrious prize. Now, of course, thanks for bearing with us. We were thrown into this at the last moment, so, of course, being Aussie, it's fun to commentate on North American Counter-Strike, or global Counter-Strike as it is.
Not just that, it's midday casting for us at the moment. This
It
is
is.
much better than casting at 10 p.m. at night. I like casting early afternoon. It's nice and relaxed, but we really appreciate all the support from CounterPit. We were, as Jim said, given that SOS call at the last minute, so we do apologise for any mispronunciation or anything of the sort, but thank you for bearing with us. We were your Australian casters for the CounterPit group stage season 2 that was only a few weeks ago here in Australia. You can find us on Twitter. You can find myself at PK Noodle, my co-caster and host who appeared on the second map, Jim Nesso, at Deep Gimpact, and
me.
of course the illustrious and well-recognised player here in the Australian scene, PTG. You can find him on Twitter at IamPTG. But I think that's probably going to do us, gents. Any last thoughts?
No, fantastic. As we said, it is about 36 degrees here in Australia, so we are sweating it out, but of course not as much as some of the members of Winterfox were in those last few rounds, so it has been fun nonetheless. And of course, unless Petey has any more comments, I think we might...
All good to go. What a fantastic opportunity for us to get an insight into the American scene at its highest level. Of course, there's been so much smack talk between Sponge from Renegades, who's native Australian, moving over there, talking smack about America, and we've always had a pretty comparable scene to them at like the highest level. I guess the top division seems like a pretty similar standard, so there's always going to be some great insight we see by watching this international CS, and I'd like to thank all our American viewers and CounterPit for providing us with a magical opportunity to entertain you all.
And without much further ado, we'll catch you guys potentially in the future.
Good morning, good evening, good night.
Peace out.
E-Gaming Bets. We accept bets on computer games online since 2011. Referral system for regular users and the first deposit bonus. Gaming devices store and the best choice of payment systems. Dota 2 and Hearthstone, Counter-Strike and StarCraft, World of Tanks and League of Legends. EGB.com. You know for sure who's going to win.
G2A.com, the best video game store ever! Fast as lightning, solid as a rock, cheap as duck! What's more, you can sell on it because it's also a marketplace. Remember G2A.com, the best video game store ever!
so sorry. That's my story.